Okay, lesson number 3 of our lockdown striking techniques. So what we're going to work on now is a stiff jab. So in the last video we talked about the long jab, where we move ourselves over the shoulder of the jabbing arm. The stiff jab is different. The stiff jab, we're going to do the opposite. We're actually going to move ourselves away from the shoulder of the jabbing arm. And the reason for this is because it allows us to line our left shoulder up with our power source, which is our right foot. Essentially, it brings our shoulder into the center line where our power is able to drive forward. The long jab, I'm really more punching almost out over my lead leg. So if I was doing this in a sparring scenario, I might wait until someone moves to my left and they move onto the line of the jab, or likewise, I might step to my right to fire the jab up. With the stiff jab, I'm really trying to drive this home. The long jab is a score. It's a flick. You're getting in, touching, and then getting out, okay? It's a scoring shot. The long jab, or the stiff jab, is going to be a much more aggressive, much more powerful shot that's generally saved for when you have somebody on the hook where they've got something physically behind them to stop them from moving back, or if you've timed someone really well and you're able to read them and you know they're stepping into attack, that's a nice time for you. The slip jab, which is obviously a built-in stiff jab because of where your head is going. So when I do my stiff jab, this is what I'm looking for. Good rear hand position as before. Palm facing in, holding the phone. Lead hand is out. This is where my palm facing in slightly can feel even better because I'm going to get a nice twist on this shot when I throw it. And from here, in my stance, I'm going to step, drive my shoulder in. Difference to the long jab. Here, I'm going to let my shoulder almost knock my own chin off the center line because I'm going to commit it so much into the shot. So you can see the difference. I'm going to do a long jab and then a stiff jab in the bag, and you'll appreciate the difference in power, right? If I do a long jab, it will look and sound like this. Right? If I do a stiff jab, so it's significantly harder of a shot, but it is a little bit shorter as well. So the place for the long jab is when you're feeling somebody out, when you're trying to score but also protect yourself to make sure you're not in range for counters. That's the time for a long jab. A stiff jab is when you know your range and you can predict either you're going to arrive in position to throw a stiff jab, or you know your opponent's going to come to you and walk directly into the stiff jab. So that's the difference. Long jab, stiff jab. You will almost always toe in and turn your knee and hip in when you do a stiff jab because you're dropping your shoulder into the target. The long jab is the opposite. Long jab, I'm going to extend my hip and reach out long. Stiff jab, I drop into the shot, okay? So play around with that at home. Again, when you're doing these drills, move around for about 60 seconds, working on just throwing a good stiff jab, keeping your balance and being able to recover back to stance every time, all right? Well done.